The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good day, this is Bill Groot. I'm your host for today, and welcome on our fourth day of our ALM QC Quality Center Expert Week. Today we're talking with Walid Beka, and he's going to give us a presentation regarding HP software professional service solution offerings. If I just want to give a little bit of information on asking questions regarding this session. If you look on the right-hand side, you will see questions. This is where you can submit your questions, right? And then Walid will answer those questions during the presentation or after the presentation. If after this presentation, as this is being recorded, we will upload this into the Quality Center Support Customer Form. Within that area, what you can do, you could submit your questions there. And then we'll send a message to Walid, and he'll make sure that he answers your questions there. So to get started, I want to pass it over to Walid, and he could start his presentation.
Thank you, Bill. So thank you, everyone, for joining this call. First of all, just maybe 30 seconds about me. I'm part of the worldwide strategy and solutions team. I'm an XPS delivery person. I'm currently an ADM architect or solution architect, mostly in the ADM space, but also cross-portfolio. And this is actually, I got right into this presentation relatively at the last minute, but then it is very important to me personally because I'm part of strategy and solutions. So we continuously look for ways to increase our pipeline, to bring all other units from HP to work together to promote our software, but also to promote our services as well. So, and we'll tell you what this is about in a minute. So let's get started. For those who are not yet familiar with what professional services can offer, we can categorize our offering into three major areas: software solution services, the strategic consulting, and the education part of it. In a nutshell, the software solution services are pretty much more product-centric. So if you've heard of things like a quick start or a 2 weeks jump start or anything like this, just to get the customer set up in a new solution, we install the software, we show them how to use it, we kind of mentor them, and we get them going to speed up the process of adoption and getting value of a new solution. So this is great, but this is not really or no more where we make our money, because you know as well as I do that our products are now in a much more mature state, meaning that you have a lot of the customers have our solution, and it's not really obvious to go tell them, hey, I'm gonna show you how to install LoadRunner or QC or ALM. Many already have those solutions, and there are not that many customers that are first-time users of those solutions. And on top of that, these are very simple services that we provide. So you have all our partners and even competitors that can offer the same services. So this is not where we're hoping to make money, and this is not where we make money today. The focus is on the strategic consulting. This is where the expertise is important, and you'll see why I'm stressing this point, because it ties back to what you guys do as well. So our strategic services are not product focused. Of course, we look and we discuss our solutions, but we're more interested in the processes that governs them or that use them. So it's about the people, it's about the process, and the technology underneath. Sometimes we even go outside of our products. We integrate with third-party solutions. We incorporate other software solutions to tell a better story, whether it's pertaining to ALM, whether it's pertaining to IT for IT, or you've heard of DevOps, and so on. So strategic consulting is all that fancy expertise that we can provide our customers. And then you have the software education. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. This is, as you know, HP Education offer a very large portfolio of specialized classes and courses, webinars, virtual classes, on-site instructor, and what have you. And this is also important, and you'll see why. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So what can you guys do to help us, and what can we do to work together? obviously, in the spirit of 1HP and in the spirit of bringing all the units to work together to basically help each other out, we're looking at something that you guys have that can definitely put us in a better shape to provide services to our customers. This is a report that I got from your organization on the support cases, and you're probably very familiar with this information more than I do. But my focus is, if you look at the right corner at the bottom, you'll see that some of the support cases that you worked on are in very interesting categories for us. So here, for instance, you have 6 customization cases, 4 cases that pertain to upgrade, and 1 for installation. Now, from your perspective, these are not things that you actually do something with the customer. It's not like there's something broken in the product and you have to resolve it and it's a support ticket, right? The customer calls thinking that he can leverage support to do some of these things, but then you basically let them know that this is not really what you're there for, and you end up closing the case. And this is exactly what we want to address. The problem is that normally, or today, it ends there. And that's the flaw in this whole story. We don't want that conversation to end with a ticket that has been closed because it doesn't fall under what you guys do. Not your fault, obviously. You're doing the right thing in closing the ticket. You should not be handling customization requests, or you should not be doing the upgrades and so on. That's not the problem. The problem is that we need to work together to take advantage of these situations and push them further down the pipeline and our strategy. This is just a scenario breakdown of what we see, right? So you have a lot of situation where the version of the products is at the end of life. The resolution code is EOL, or the resolution code was something around customization, installation, or upgrade. And then we can have a customer breakdown on who are the top customers, what region, what country, and so on. We need that information to know how to channel these requests further. Again, this is another report just to show you how easy it is to take that information and do something with it. I mean, this is amazing. All of these accounts we can trace back to account representative. We have client principals. If they just knew about this, we will take it and know what to do with it and follow through. So again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. This is just telling you the information that we get from you guys is extremely valuable, and we want to continue to get that feedback. Here, this is just another number to show you the key takeaway here is that most of the cases were closed by telling the customer that product customization are out of support scope, which is true. But again, look at the number. We have 163 opportunities to do something with customers that we're not necessarily doing today. And this is the one thing that I would like to address. And we're going to show you, and we're going to tell you how can PS take this information and take these, transform it into opportunities, and why they are opportunities for us. So, as you know, we can't sell customers on installing or setting up a solution anymore. What we need to sell them is on the big stuff: customizations, upgrade, transformations, integration, and so on. So what we did is we call this ALM optimization. You've probably heard that PS does a lot of ALM workshops, and an ALM workshop essentially is a customer already has our solution, so it's not about selling them on ALM or QC, or they have most of our solution. It's about looking at what the customer is doing with our solution. When we notice that there's a drop in software adoption, when some of our customers are now considering a third-party solution or out of the open source, or just looking at something else, sometimes it's because they are frustrated with something with our solution. Sometimes it's because they're not really using it well, so they think that the solution is actually the problem, while in fact it's actually somewhere else. The bottom line is that what we're trying to do is we're trying to now conduct this ALM optimization campaign, where we conduct workshops to understand what the customers are doing with our solution, whether they're getting the right value or not. In this little example, I'm just going to show you what typically happens at a customer. That may result in a support ticket, but I mean, just to show you how real this thing. So if you look, we call this the pain chain, just to show you the impact of of using our product, or what happens. So if you're a QA manager, or let's start at the top. So the business owner basically has this one complaint. He's basically saying that new features take too long to release to customers. From his perspective, these new features are potentially tied to more revenue that they can get, or an additional service that they're offering to their customers, right? So from the perspective of the business owner, this is a missed opportunity for revenue. And then he trickles back that information or that frustration a little bit lower, and you go to the application owner, and he's saying, well, application releases are very slow. The reason why you're not getting those features is because, you know, I have my development and testing teams that are just taking too much time to release the features that I wanted to implement for you. And then the development manager says, well, the reason why I'm not able to release things in time is because I have reduced efficiency because my team keeps dealing with invalid defects. And invalid defects are basically coming from the QA testing team, are defects that are filed by the testing team, and then when they go to development, developers basically are supposed to revalidate the defect, and they realize that no, it's actually working. So they have wasted time working on defects that are not defects, preventing them from working on developing the new features, and that's basically delaying everything. From the tester's perspective, they're basically saying the reason why we're too slow is because we're finding way too many defects, and we do a lot of testing manually. So all this to say is that you have your QA people or your testers that are very upset that they're finding too many defects. You have developers that are complaining that they're working on defects that are not defects. You have your IT application owner saying that the release is too slow, or the application release, there are application release delays. And at the top, you have the business owner saying, well, this I don't care about all this. All I know is that you're not releasing the features that are supposed to bring you more money. What we try to do in this strategic consulting, you know, that column in the middle that you saw, is we're trying to see why this is happening. Because in the end, what's going to happen is they're going to start thinking that the problem is that this tool is not actually doing what it's supposed to do. ALM and QC are there to ensure quality, are there to improve efficiency, are there to increase, reduce testing releases, are they to speed up the process, to bring agility, and so on. Obviously, whatever the reasons are, they're going to blame something. They're not going to blame someone. In the end, they're going to blame our tools, and they think that there are issues with the product and so on, and they're going to start looking for options. So what we thought of is that this is an excellent opportunity for optimization. ALM optimization is the mechanism by which we go and we talk to these customers to understand what are the root causes. We're very confident that the causes are not because of product efficiencies, but because of how people are using our solution, because of processes, because of maturity in certain part of the process, or maybe the process altogether. And our goal is to educate the customer and to work with the customer on telling them where the problem is. Of course, there's something in it for us, and I'll get to that in a minute. So how do we do this? How do we go to a customer that has 1,000 projects that is complaining that there's something wrong, they just don't know what it is, and they want to know what's going on? We do these assessments, right? We do these maturity assessment workshops and so on, but when you have thousands of projects, when you have multiple business units, how do you actually properly assess what is going on? And the key to this is to use ALM analytics. And I say ALM analytics, it's not a product, but it's actually use the concept of analytics. We need to collect a lot of data about these projects and crunch it so we can look at trends. Something as simple like if you wanted to know what is the percentage of open defects that stays open above 3 months, right? This is important because if you get a high percentage of these defects that stay open above 3 months, there is a problem. I mean, if it's still open after a few weeks, it's already a problem. But just to give you an idea on what these metrics can tell us. So what we did is we created something completely new. We called it ALM Diagnostics. ALM Diagnostics is a utility that crawls an ALM and QC schema. All the projects, all the all the instances or whatever, we can assign multiple instances. It's going to scan every project for 50, 60 type of metrics, and behind those metrics are just basically a bunch of queries that go and collect information about projects, about defect tests, requirement, traceability, and what have you. You'll see an example in a few slides, and consolidates all that data to tell us the story. The idea behind this is that if you have a good QA process, that process will have data reflected in a QC or ALM environment. So if we find through those metrics that the information is sane, meaning that we have good metrics, we have low percentage where we should have low percentages, we have high percentages where we should have high percentages, it tells us that people are following a good QA process. And if you have good QA processes that are being followed, obviously you're getting more out of the solution, you get less friction with the team, and you're more agile. That's the whole idea. So through an ALM health check workshop, we run the scan. It's not a system performance scan or anything. It's just a scan to collect information about projects, and then we learn a lot with that data. And then, of course, there's another portion of the workshop which basically tells us we go talk to people, we look at their processes, we have these interviews with the various stakeholders. So if you combine the information coming from talking to people and you combine information coming from an automated data collection utility about information within the projects, you have a very good idea of what's happening in that environment. So what is ALM Diagnostics? It's an automated data collection and analytics utility that basically crawls an entire repository. We don't actually go through the APIs. We actually just go directly to the database, and we extract information that we then consolidate into dashboards and reports with drilled down capabilities. What it looks like, something like this. So you have, at the end, we take an ALM instance, we do a cross-domain level analysis, cross-project level analysis, and then we do project level analysis. And we look at this dashboard you see here, red, green, and yellow, and for us, we collect these metrics and we map them to different thresholds that tells us, okay, so I'll take one for instance, project size. It's in red. Why is it in red? For us, if you have a high percentage of projects that are very, very large, we know that this is something, an area that we need to investigate. The tool doesn't prevent you or limits you to have a project of a certain size, right? You can keep growing the project to whatever you want, but we all know that if you have a project that has 50 releases that have been maintained for the past 4 or 5 years, you're going to start having issues. Issues in the sense that this project will be particularly slow when you try to access a tree or you try to look at linked entities of some sort. You're going to have issues if you store all your test results in a release and you keep adding release after release, and then in this release you also have information that is found in the repository, and the repository is getting huge. We've seen projects that are like over a terabyte big. A portion of this is in the database, and a large portion is in the associated file repository. So we look for clues under the different areas. We call them here, like you can see, infrastructure, requirement, test, defect. We have other metrics here at the top. And we start looking at different trends, and we see where the customer has followed what we consider healthy methodologies or healthy ALM and QC or just QA practices. If they did, this information will be reflected all in green in these dashboards. And every time we find something that is yellow or red, we basically ask more questions. We drill down into that information. Why do you have large projects? Why do you have too many orphan requirements? If you think, for instance, what is an orphan requirement? An orphan requirement is a requirement that has been created in the system and has no linkage to any other entity. Now, the only time that I can see this being relevant is if you just created the requirement and you haven't really used it you haven't really finished, you're just starting. This should be in very new projects, and this should be a relatively recent activity. But if we find that 20% of your requirements are orphans, they're just in the system floating around, and that 20% represent 5,000 requirements across your 100 projects, you know what that means? That means that you have 5,000 entries in the system. Somebody took about 5 to 10 minutes creating each requirement, and you can quantify that in a huge amount of time that was completely wasted. Why? Because they haven't used that requirement in anything. It's not linked to a test. It's not linked to anything. It's not linked to other requirements. So why would you have such a high number or high percentage? So we use analytics to probe further what the customers are doing, and we do this for a very specific reason. We want to go back to the customer and give them an impact analysis. These metrics that we capture are there for a very specific reason. They have an impact. Sometimes it's on an impact on performance. Sometimes it's an impact on governance, application quality, and so on. You can see here in this sample analysis metric, we take something, like I said, project size, project access, users that have never logged in the system for the past year, requirement traceability, and we have about 20 other metrics that we look at, and we present the customer with an impact analysis, what we recommend should be done, and what we say is going to happen if these things are fixed. Very simple example is a percentage of invalid defects. You don't see that on this matrix here, but what is an invalid defect? I'm going back to that example about the pain chain. An invalid defect is a defect that is found by QA, but basically development says that I cannot replicate it. In small percentage, this is not a big deal. It happens sometimes for whatever reason. But if that percentage is too high, you can easily see that QA wasted time creating defects that are not actual defects. Development wasted time revalidating defects that are not actually defects. And at the end of the day, it could be an issue that is far bigger than just wasting time. It could be that developers and testers are not even working on the same build. It's a release management issue. They're supposed to test on the same build. I mean, that's the idea of testing. You test on a very specific build with very specific data to know whether things passed or failed. And when they fail, the developer is supposed to reproduce the defect in the same conditions to confirm that it is a defect, and they can actually work on what needs to be fixed. So it could be a release management issue. It could be just a test data management issue. It could be the team sizes are not properly justified, meaning that QA is so understaffed that they tend to do the test cases so quickly and they don't really pay attention. They think something has failed, but in fact, they didn't do all the steps and they didn't really pay attention to the expected results, and they are too quick to file a defect and move on to the next test case. It's possible also that developers are understaffed. They have all these defects that they need to look at, and then they quickly try to replicate them, and then it doesn't really produce the same error, and they're quick to say, oh, QA did not do a good job, this is not even a defect. So there could be a lot of reasons. So that's why we call this ALM optimization. What are the optimization services? And this is where professional services try to have a play, is basically to say we can take all these weaknesses or these opportunities to improve and optimize your QA processes, whether it's through something that we need to do in the product, meaning like turn on different certain features that they already have but they're not taking advantage of. It could be education that we need to provide to users so they can take advantage of things that are already in the product, or simply to teach them about adopting better habits or better practices with respect to what we consider mature QA processes. So services, this is not an exhaustive list, but if you look at this, versioning and baselining, you'd be surprised how many customers don't even know how to do this. They have this capability in the tool and they don't even know how to use it, or they haven't used it properly and they think it doesn't work. Cross-project asset sharing and reuse. One of the things we look at is what are customers doing to reuse things between projects. I mean, that's one of the features of ALM, is the ability to share assets between projects to be more efficient at things, right? Customers are not taking advantage of that. Cross-project reporting. Some customers like to track their projects, but they have to go beyond the out-of-the-box reports, and they're not very good at, creating those new custom reports and so on. Cross-project customization, integration consulting. Why not bring ALI? Why not bring dev and QA closer together through this technology that we also provide, ALI, Application Lifecycle Intelligence? Why not increase traceability? Why not think of archiving and consolidation? Why keep projects that have been there for 3, 4, 5 years and have not been accessed for the past 2 years? Why do you need to carry these projects from one upgrade to another if there are projects that you don't even use anymore? Why do you need to keep test results that are 7 years old? Unless you have compliance or regulation mandate, you shouldn't be keeping junk in ALM or QC. You have to keep a lean and manageable instance. Just like everything, you archive the data, you put it away in case you need it later, but you don't just keep growing that repository or growing the database with information that you do not need or use. So these are the type of services that we can offer our customers. And customization is another one. We can create templates, workflows. We can create additional integration. We can turn on integrations that are supported by the tool. Upgrades. Some customers are complaining about things, about the product, because they say, oh, the product cannot do this or that. And in many cases, it's just because they are too far behind. We have implemented these features in the newer releases, and we will upgrade them and show them how to use them. Education. Some customers simply just don't know how to do proper requirements management or defect management, or what is four-way traceability, or how to do proper traceability, or what is how to bring a QA and development closer together through the tool, right? They don't know how to do these things, right? How to be more agile. We know how to do this, and what we want is to basically take the information that you guys collect in terms of support tickets that fall into these categories and work at these as opportunities for us. So just a quick recap: why HPALM optimization? We want to maximize the ROI. You guys all know that our software costs a fortune, right? So customers over the years have paid lots and lots to have our solution. And unless they're seeing the ROI, they will not continue in doing so. We also want to understand where the issues are. It's going to happen. Over time, just like any software, it will have some things that will happen because of the way it's being used, because of people come and go, and sometimes, they do things that are not supposed to do. We want to understand where the issues are. Is it a process issue? Is it because a know-how issue? We want to know so these issues can be mitigated or not repeated, right? And finally, we want to increase the synergy between tool, processes, and users. Unless everybody is using the tool the way it's supposed to be used, unless they have the right processes that govern the tool and govern the practices, people are not, or users are not going to work well together. And ALM optimization promotes order and ALM industry leading best practices leveraging our solution. There are a lot of solutions out there, so the focus is how to educate our customers and work with other customers to stay very excited and motivated using our solutions. People like change sometimes. There are a lot of other tempting solutions out there, and they hear about this open source solution or this new thing, and sometimes they want to try something different. If we keep telling them that they're getting value out of our solutions, they'll probably just be curious, but they're not going to make this change. And they will renew that license, and they will ask for more services and support. So ALM optimization is not the only service we offer, right? I'm not going to go through each one of them. There's a link, and there's the PS catalog that we have all the ALM services. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is that you guys talk to customers that are complaining about something, and if in that conversation you feel that it's a candidate for one of these things that you'll see here on the screen, just keep that in the back of your mind so you can channel that information to us. We do ALM implementation. We do upgrade services, as you can easily imagine. ALM optimization, which is in itself a bunch of other services that we provide. We provide plugins for third-party tools. I mean, this one comes up often. That's why we created an offering around it, the HPALI Bamboo plugin. Some customers want to use Bamboo and integrate it with ALM, and we are able to do that through our ALI technology. If a customer calls you and asks you, hey, is this supported out of the box, and you say, no, it's not supported out of the box, but HP Professional Services actually have created that integration. Would you like someone to call you back? I mean, that's all that we're trying to do. Assessment and discovery workshops, right? And it's not, and in the ADM space, everything that under the sun that touches PC, LR, and so on, the migration, test automation, you name it, right? Mobile. We also now have mobile. We have mobile foundation services. We have mobile advanced services, and virtualization, service virtualization, network virtualization, and so on. All of these areas we have offerings for. So whatever that call is, whatever that support ticket is, keep in the back of your mind, if it's not a support play, it could be a services play. And then we have the testing services. I'm not going to go through all of these, but you know, here's a cool one: performance on demand. Excuse me. Customers wants to do performance testing. They're short-staffed, or they have an urgent project and they don't want to deal with onboarding a new person and so on. We have, you know, tactical approaches to support these kind of requests, right? We also have managed services. If a customer would like to actually completely outsource their performance testing practice, PS can help. So just keep this in mind, and you can visit that catalog of services and use your judgment to direct the customer to any of those. You've heard of DevOps. Again, this is a major play for us. DevOps is essentially everything. It's a combination of product implementation, integration, processes, agility, and so on. So you'll also see with DevOps, you'll see enterprise agility. I mean, in DevOps, we talk about AGM, we talk about ALM, PPM, every single product, and some third-party products. We don't have a development IDE like Eclipse, but we needed one. So we put that in our reference implementation, and we are able to tell a story from a developer perspective, right? So just keep that in mind, that we have all these offerings and more. I realized that I've been talking for a while, and I didn't basically give you an opportunity to ask any questions. So I'll just I'll leave that as an open floor for you to ask any questions.
Thanks, Walid. Right now there are no questions, but maybe we should give the attendees maybe just a minute or two just to submit their questions. And if there are no questions right now, as I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, you can always submit them in the post that I will be putting into our Quality Center support customer form, where you could ask specific questions, and we'll send them on to Walid, and he'll be more than happy to answer your questions. So if you have a question, please type them in. Sorry, Walid.
I will add one thing while we wait for the question. With respect to the ALM optimization, which was focused to this presentation, we are currently running a campaign. We're basically targeting 50 customers. We have a special campaign fund that will allow 50 customers to take advantage of a health check workshop at no cost. We talked about this. The health check workshop, we go in, we run this scanning tool to collect information, and we also spend a little more time with the customer face-to-face, and then we come back with this assessment report on our analysis of how mature that organization are, where are the things that they can improve on, and so on. So you're in the support organization. Please feel free to talk about this campaign to customers. All you need to tell them is that we offer a health check assessment at no charge. Someone from professional services can contact you and coordinate with you what are the steps that needs to be taken.
Well, that's a nice offering, Walid. So, of course, what we'll also do is we'll mention that in the post as well.
Yeah.
We did get one question, Walid. It is, what is AC4QC?
Yes. So AC4QC is archiving and consolidation IP for Quality Center. So as you know, archiving in QC and ALM is challenging because of certain limitations. If the project is over a certain size, you cannot export the entire thing, and so on. But it's not only that. You cannot partially export things, right? So what PS did is we created an IP that allows organization to archive any entity of a project. And what that means is, let's say you want to archive a release, and in that release you have you know, the children requirements, and you have the children test and the test results, and every basically children entity under that release, whatever, if you have sprints, whatever you have, you're able to archive old releases. You're able to archive old test results. Or you're able to archive the entire project if you want to, no matter what the size is. But more importantly, you're able to bring it back into a new project. So if you want to reuse pieces of a project into a new project, let's say you want to keep the same requirements, or you want to keep a particular release structure from one project to another, we're able to do that. So you archive the old information and you can go back and bring a piece of it into a new project. So that's what archiving and consolidation is.
Okay, thank you. So Walid, there are no more questions. So I'd like to thank you for your time today. I'd like to thank the people on the phone as well. It was good information, Walid. Again, you could listen to this recording once we post it into the forum. We'll also send you an email with the recording that you could listen back to what Walid mentioned about our professional services offerings. And we have two more sessions after this one today. So I'd like to thank Walid for his time today, for his presentation, and everyone on the phone. And for everyone else, have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.